CBS Channel 29 Sports presents Group AAA Eastern Regional Division I Final Playoff Game. Coming to you from Todd Stadium in Newport News, between the Hampton Crabbers and the Norview Pilots. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Cole, along with Bob Hintz, and we are here at Todd Stadium for the regional finals between the Hampton Crabbers 9-2 and the Norview Pilots with an identical 9-2 record. Bob, this shapes up to be one exciting ball game tonight.
I tell you what, Tim, I'm sure glad I'm here. This is going to be a very fine ball game. We have two teams that kind of mirror themselves a little bit, except that Hampton is a much better passing team. They both keep the ball on the ground. They both have excellent defenses. Now, the last time these two teams met was in 1979 in a playoff game in which Norview came out to win it 20-19. So the Crabbers, of course, defending state champions, want to make sure that doesn't happen tonight.
Let's run down the starting lineups, if we may, Bob, for both teams before the captains get ready to meet at the center of the field. There we go. We're going to run that
I'll
down.
go ahead and run the Hampton offense Crabbers. We'll have Kroom at quarterback tonight. Dickerson, who had a fantastic game last week, at fullback. The tailback is Calvin Knight, and the tight end is Crutchfield. Rounding out the Hampton offense, Will Jeter is a tight end. He caught 2 passes last week. Mike Alexander is a split end. We have Hank Terrell at the tackle, Steve Mason at the tackle, Pearson and Mayberry are at the guards. At center is Powell, and who will be kicking for the Crabbers tonight is Husted, who also kicks off and does the extra points and punting.
Before we get into the defense, Bob, let me make mention of the captains, the co-captains for each team that will be meeting in the center of the field momentarily. For Norview, Artie Rogers, number 10, and number 15 is Richard Grievous. They'll be the co-captains for the Norview Pilots. They're coming across the field. They'll be wearing the white uniforms with the blue numerals. For the Crabbers, they're represented by 3 players. Number 7, Kroom, of course, Rocky Kroom, and number 89, Will Jeter, and Keith Custis. Just at the bottom of your picture will be the 3rd tri-captain for the Crabbers, and we're getting the introduction of the officials. Let's give a chance to run down those.
Right, let me give you the officials while we've got them on the screen, Tim. Refereeing tonight is Jack Windley. The umpire is James Williams. I don't know if we've got him on tape tonight, but let's go ahead and finish him up. We have the field judge, Mike Tucci. The linesman is Flicken, and the back judge is Dave Riesbeck.
All righty, and while we continue with the starting lineups for the games, and I'm sorry that we messed up our lineups.
Well, that's all right. We're doing all right tonight. I tell you, it's going to be an exciting game. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll finish up with the lineups as soon as we get a chance to get them on the screen, Tim. One thing that shows you right out there that Hampton is kicking off, and Norview will be kicking and receiving to our right. This will be the first time that Hampton has faced a left-handed quarterback, and it's really, most teams are right-hand oriented, and it's something to look for tonight to see if they have a tendency to run more to the left because of the left-handed quarterback.
We'll get a chance to see Hampton on defense first. Of course, defense is the name of Hampton's game. They have a good offense, but over the years, and this year being no exception, the defense is what makes Hampton win and lose. There you go, the Norview offense. Artie Rogers, the quarterback, Mark Hill at fullback, A. Williams at tailback, the flanker is Brickhouse, Hayes the tight end, the split end is Fentress. Also, the tackles are Watson and Banks, the guards are Johnson and Johnson, sounds like a medical firm. Worthy is the center, and the kicker will be Hawkins. And we'll get to the defense for them in just a moment, but we're just about set to go, as we'll have the kickoff forthcoming for you. The Hampton Crabbers in the black pants, the red jerseys, and the white numerals. And the Norview Pilots, of course, will be in the all-white uniforms with blue trim and blue numerals. Mike Husted will be kicking the ball off. Mike having a great season for the Crabbers, had a field goal against the Green Run team last week, 37-yard field goal. We're set to go, and the kick is up, and we're underway. Back at the 5. Well, at the 1-yard line and into the end zone, the ball goes. Houston got all of that ball.
Tim, there's a little bit of a breeze, not much, but what is blowing was blowing at his back, but he did get all of his leg into that ball. The back man tried to catch it at about the 1-yard line and couldn't catch it. Of course, once it bounced in the end zone, it's automatic in the VHSL high school that it comes back out at 20. So they have 1st and 10 and they're 20.
Norview Pilots led by quarterback Artie Rogers. Rogers not having a great year passing the football. He's not known for his great arm, but he does run and pass equally well. In the backfield with him, Alan Williams, number 27, Mark Hill, number 44. This is Williams to the outside, gets close to a first down.
He did a good job of getting that outside. Now Hampton will make some adjustments as they go along because they have been known to have a real good defense, and they will stop the wide stuff and string it out. But he did get around the corner and picked up almost 10 yards.
They mark the ball at the Norview 29-yard line, so it's a pickup of 9, and it gives the Norview Pilots basically a free down, 2nd down and 1.
And
of course, against Hampton, you don't have any free downs.
That's true, but you notice where that ball went. It went on the left side that time, Tim.
Quarterback Artie Rogers out of the eye. First man through, has the first down across the 30, pushed back, but he will have a first down at the 32 as his forward progress will give him a 3-yard pickup. And Mark Hill, number 44, carried the ball for the Pilots.
This week as we was going along, I got over and got a chance to sit down and talk to one of the Hampton assistant coaches, Danny Mitchell, and of course one of his jobs was to watch the films of Norview and put down tendencies, and they'll put down what they'll do from certain formations and whether they run a man in motion, if they'll pass, and those sorts of things. So the defense out there has certain keys that they're looking for to stop the Pilots.
1st and 10, ball marked just across the Norview 32. Again, this play worked the first time. They tried again across the 40 and pushed out of bounds is Williams. Over on the stop for the Crabbers, number 10, Keith Custis, a very key member to the Hampton Crabbers. While he was out with an injury, the Crabbers had 3 dismal games. They lost 2 games and barely won 1 against Menchville. And since Custis has been back, the Crabbers have a 3-game winning streak.
Well, they call him the preacher. He does a lot of getting the rest of the teammates fired up and getting them to play well. They just respond well to him. He's a good leader out there, and the coaches really appreciate it when you have a ball player like that will stand up and take charge.
Norview moving the ball on the ground. Williams picked up almost 8. Fumble on the exchange, and Rogers quickly picks the ball up. It appears that Norview will have possession, but of course they will have little or no gain on the play. See exactly where they mark the football. Appears they'll mark it at the 41, so it'll be virtually no gain. Give them a foot on the play.
They'll try to go, if their tendency has been the same, they'll try to go over the right side off tackle to pick this first down up, Tim. That's where they tried to go on that play, and there was a mess up on the snap.
3rd down and a little more than a yard. They have to get to the 42 and then some. Rogers right side. The Hampton defense stacks it up. 5 Crabbers there, and no first down for the Pilots.
Now you're in a situation now where you're early in the ball game and you're at midfield. In fact, you're short of midfield. I just don't believe that the Norview coaching staff is going to go for it. They look like they're going to have to come in and punt.
Well, they come out in a running formation. They do not appear to be going for it.
I've been wrong before, and they may be trying to pull them offside too, Tim.
4th down and a long yard. Now they call a timeout. That's exactly what they're doing. They took a play out of the Hampton playbook.
They sure did. We've seen Hampton do that 2 or 3 times this year already that we have watched the games and have covered the ball games. That's not a bad strategy if you can get the other team to jump offside and you got your automatic first down.
Other than the fact, if there is a negative to it, you do waste a timeout.
You most certainly do.
Of course, we're just barely into the first quarter, 10:03 with the clock stopping with that timeout. Norview has run the ball effectively. They've gotten 1 first down and looked like they were on their way to a 2nd, but the Crabber defense, led by Sherwood Jones on that last play, simply stiffened, and now the Norview Pilots will look at the punting situation. We'll see Mike Stefanko go back and standing close to his 30-yard line, back deep for the Crabbers. Stefanko was very prolific in scoring during the year, but in the last 4 games, Stefanko has yet to crack the scoreboard.
Well, when we watched him last week, they ran a couple of draw plays where he did a real good job, Tim, and according to the coaches on the film, if he'd have cut outside rather than inside, he may have scored on 1 or 2 of those plays. But he is a fine ball player, and like we have talked about earlier, he's, 5'7". He's not a real big young man, but he's got a heart that'll really make you love him because he really works hard out there when he gets the ball.
Standing back inside his 30 is Hawkins, Orlando Hawkins, the kicker. 5'11" senior, gets the kick away. It's a low kick. Bounces at the 34. Takes a Norview bounce. Stefanko feels the ball at his 22 and is immediately down there. And that's where the Crabbers will set up, as Stefanko was very lucky to hold on to that ball.
Well, he most certainly was, but he wanted to take a gamble that time because that ball was rolling. It could have well rolled back down to about the 10-yard line. You notice on the two offensive plays that the Norview Pilots picked up, they went on the right side and they went wide. Every time they try to go anywhere but wide, Hampton's going to stop them, and they'll make some adjustments. We'll see what Hampton's offense does, Tim.
Stefanko in the backfield with Dickerson. Rocky Kroom is the quarterback. To the near side is Mike Alexander at the bottom of the screen. Inside handoff out close to the 25. That's Marvin Dickerson, who we saw with great success against Green One last week.
Oh, he had an excellent game. Now, Norview came out into a 4-3 defense, which is 4 men down and then 3 linebackers, which is almost like a 7-man line. They will run variations of that. They'll run a 5-3 and 5-2 off of that. But most of the times, if they figure Hampton's going to pass, they'll go into a 4-man front, Tim.
Crabbers scored 269 points so far in the season, and Norview 229 points in 11 games. Both teams with identical 9-2 records. Back to pass. Kroom has Jeter open momentarily, but he didn't really have much time to get that pass away.
Oh, he sure didn't.
Kroom took a good hit in the backfield.
Number 66 for Norview was right in on top of him before he got a chance to really set up and let the man break and get open.
Sheldon Worthy was the man for Norview who put the pressure on Kroom, so Kroom had to unload a little sooner than he may have wanted to. Kroom coming into the game very good in the passing department. He's second in the Eastern region in passing behind Redding up at Ferguson, and he is known to be an extremely good passer. He is, in fact, his passing is what has gotten Hampton to this point in their season. And he'll look to pass this time. He falls down on the draw. This is Stefanko out close to a first down. And where they mark it exactly will determine whether or not the Crabbers have a first down.
That's ill left foot, right foot, but I tell you what, he's got the first down. There's no doubt about it. And they did signal the first down. That was an excellent call. Everybody in the stands, including the Norview coaching staff, knew that he was going to pass the ball. And that we saw that play work very, very successful last week for a couple times with Stefanko.
When we get an opportunity, we will complete the lineups for you. We'll get the Norview defense listed. We've gotten everyone else out there, and when we have a next break, we'll do that. There you go, 1st and 10. Crabbers have it out at the 33. Out of the eye, second man through is Stefanko, and nothing happening this time as he is stacked up by the small but fast Norview Pilots. That's how they're listed. Hampton's a little bigger as a team, although I've been looking at some of these players out in the field for Norview, and they got some pretty hefty boys out there.
Yeah, they do. They've got a real strong defense. Both teams are noted for their defense more than their offense. I know the Norview won last week, but they won on turnovers. They intercepted one pass, took it back for a touchdown, intercepted another, took it to the 5, and then eventually scored. So their defense comes up with a lot of points for them, Tim.
And their offense didn't do badly last week either, Bob. They racked up 267 yards on the ground against a strong 10-0 Great Bridge team. So Norview is a team to be reckoned with, no question about it. At the 35, Kroom wants to pass. Got Malik Alexander wide open at the 50, and the Crabbers have a first down in Norview territory.
Oh, he was wide open, and he did a good job that time picking out the receiver. But, Tim, you notice he had plenty of time. That offensive line did a good job of stopping any rush on him.
Well, you know, I'd like to comment on that, Bob. We watched Hampton, of course, defeat Green Run last week, 17-8. And let's give credit where it's due. The offensive line for Hampton was superb. They held I don't mean held, I mean they held back the onrushing Green Run Stallions enough time to give Kroom time. This is Dickerson picking his hole, and he's across the 45 to about the 44. In on the stop was Lawson Basnight, number 57 for the Pilots.
Well, I tell you, he had a real fine game last week, and of course the coaching staff hopes he has another good game tonight. But Hampton's got a lot of offensive weapons out there. They have 3 people they run a tailback, and all of them are real excellent, but they don't have real impressive statistics because they split the time up between the 3 of them, Tim.
Second down and about 6. This is Stefanko. Stefanko across the 40, close to another first down for the Crabbers. It appears that he has the first down. And they'll mark it close to the 38 of Norview. So we're looking at Hampton using a diversified attack, pass and run, as they've done all year.
I noticed that time, Tim, when they went out and they split the wide flanker over to the left side, that Norview pilots put 2 defensive men over there, so that makes them a little weaker in the center, and of course Hampton's going to take advantage of any situation like that.
Mike Smith quoted in the paper this week saying it's not a matter of who's got the best team, it's who executes the best. And in this case, it's a matter of how you do it and when you do it that makes a difference. He feels that Norview, on paper, is equal to the Hampton Crabbers as far as their talent and so forth, but it comes down to execution, and that's, of course, what Hampton has done throughout the years with great success.
Well, not only that, but they also do a good job of scouting the other team and being able to take advantage of their weaknesses.
This drive for the Crabbers started at their 22 after Norview got a first down and looked like they were able to move the ball, but then the Hampton defense stiffened and the Norview pilots had to kick. Hampton now 2nd down and 8. And stacked up for little or no gain. This is Stefanko again. Stefanko getting a lot of playing time here early in the first quarter. 5:25 remains in the first quarter and there's no score.
He actually lost about a half a yard on that play, Tim. This is 3rd down and long, so you and I and everybody in the stands is going to be looking for a passing situation. And normally they will pass in this situation. Last time they came with the draw, but they're in much better field position now to go with the pass, and he's got 3 excellent receivers. Alexander
at the top of the field, out of your picture. In motion to the near side comes Knight. Fake the handoff over the middle. He's got Will Jeter had it momentarily, but they'll say incomplete pass as he never really had control, but he had a good chance to catch that football.
Oh, he did that. He hit him right in the hands with that. He was running and trying to catch the ball at the same time and just lost a little bit of concentration at that time. So it looks like the Hampton Crabbers are going to have to punt the ball. Last week, you notice when they got the ball, Tim, on the first possession, they went all the way down and scored and sort of set the tone for the game.
High snap to Houston. He gets the kick away. It's a beautiful spiraling kick. Fair catch called for at the 5. Fumble. And the ball is loose. Hampton's got the football.
Wow, what a break for the Crabbers. What a break for the Crabbers. Anytime that you can get a turnover like that in a big, pivotal game like this, Tim, boy, I tell you, that'll fire up the offense and the defense. The defense will come back out and play just strong as the Dickens now because they caused the turnover, and the Hampton has a good chance to score.
You've got to question that play on the part of Norview. The man back there was Razor, and he called for the fair catch, which is what he should have done. But anytime it's in the 5, inside the 5, you let it go.
Yeah, I think he really did make a mistake, Tim. He should have let the ball bounce, go in the end zone, take it out on the 20.
At the worst, it would have been downed at the 5. But in this case, the Hampton Crabbers have it 1st and goal at the 4. Dickerson, left side, dragging a tackler down to the 2. Marvin Dickerson, the big fullback for the Crabbers.
Well, the Hampton Crabbers have a golden opportunity here to take the lead early and put the pressure on the Norview Pilots because they have not been noted as a strong offensive team. As I noted earlier, that they score a lot of points defensively. They beat one team this week, in fact, on the way to the playoffs, and I'll talk about it. It was a Lake Taylor game. I'll talk about it after this play is over, Tim.
2nd and goal at the 2. Dickerson again, touchdown.
Yeah, that was great. Just straight power right over the right side. And then, of course, that just makes the crowd on the Hampton side just going wild because this is a team that a lot of people had written off after they played such a lousy game against Minchfield, and then they lost to 2 in a row. But I tell you, Mike Smith and his coaching crew, they have not given up on these young men.
Houston will try out of the hold of Kroom. 6-0 the Crabbers. A big turnover on the way to this score in the first quarter. Houston's kick, a squibber over to the left, is no good. So Houston, usually reliable on extra points and field goals, doesn't get all of this one. And there you see your score after the first possession the Crabbers had with a big break. Of course, you know, last week, Bob, we talked about a lot of different things, but the green run game, you and I talked about this. The difference in that game was that turnover in the 3rd quarter on that very same type of play.
It sure is, and Of course, the Crabbers took advantage of it. Missing an extra point hurts them because they only got 6 instead of 7, but I don't look for that to be the end of the scoring. But as I was talking earlier, Lake Taylor was one of the teams that made it to the Division II playoffs. They got beat by this Norview team 7-0, and it was on a block punt. So, they're not a real explosive offensive team. They don't have a real good passer. The guy's got a good arm, but he's not real accurate.
That drive was actually after the fumble, a 2-play drive, 4 yards, took 48 seconds for the Crabbers. So the Crabbers on the board first. Houston has it teed up. He gets all of this one again. This one's going to go back at the goal line, and the man receiving the ball actually stepped into the end zone, but the official is allowing him to bring it out. And bring it out he does, all the way to the 31-yard line.
That's very surprising. I thought once you're in the end zone, evidently he figured the ball had not crossed the end line. Tim, the young man that gives us the statistics, we'll give a chance to be given some statistics on drives and those sort of things, and halftime statistics is a guy by the name of Ken Felix, and he does a real good job, and we wanted to mention his name, and the young man that's bringing the information to us is Jeff Lancaster. So I want to make sure we mention those two young men.
So the official may have just simply ruled that he never let the ball get in the end zone. The rule in high school is if it goes into the end zone in any capacity, it comes out to the 20. But from the 31, this is Williams again. He's got 3 Crabbers chasing him to the sidelines. Jeter over there along with Custis, as you might expect. And also on the defense, James Wilson, number 75 for the Crabbers.
Tim, I watched that play as it developed, and it looked like it was supposed to go off tackle, and it was just there was no place to go, and he just bounced to the outside, and that's the only play that they have run tonight that they have picked up any yardage, and they picked up, what, about 8 yards on that play?
Well, actually about 7 yards on the play, but you're absolutely right. That's been an effective play for them so far. Williams to the left. This time up the middle, close to the 40-yard line. Carrying the football is Mark Hill, number 44. Common opponents coming into this game, the Hampton Crabbers played a couple of teams that Norview did. Hampton, of course, beat Denby 52-6, while Norview lost to Denby 17-6. And then Hampton beat Ferguson 56-0. Norview beat that same Ferguson team 39-16.
The Denby loss that Norview felt was the very first game, and they shook out. Oh man, look at that defensive play, Tim.
3rd down and 1, and Mark Hill finds no less than 5 or 6 Crabbers, led by Mike Alexander, Hurley Miles, and several others, including Derek Cooper for the Crabbers, over there to put the stops on Mr. Hill.
The coaching staff for the Norview Pilots did some shaking up in there after their first game loss and took a young man that is now playing quarterback who was running the ball then, and they figured they've done a better job.
Orlando Hawkins back deep to punt. 4th down in the yard. Stefanko back deep, and a Hampton Crabber is knocked down, and it appears a flag has been thrown. We'll see whether or not...
I think it's what he's doing, Tim, is he's just marking where the ball is. He throws a little, like a beanbag down to kind of mark where the ball is.
The reason I was concerned, of course, from the point of view of the Crabbers, is that man fell down, and if that ball had just incidentally hit him, that ball is live.
That's right. It could have been very well been a turnover because there was a whole lot of white jerseys around him at that time.
Nonetheless, the Crabbers have it, leading 6-0. They've marked the ball just across the 36 of Hampton. Mike Smith, the head coach for the Crabbers, sends the plays in. This time it comes in the form of Calvin Knight, number 12. Knight and Dickerson are the backfield with Kroom. Mike Alexander at the top of your screen is the wide receiver to the left. This is Calvin Knight picking the hole, gets about 7. So Calvin Knight picks up about 7.
They're doing a fine job opening up the holes on that left side. I tell you that when you score like that, it just picks up the team. I mean, it'd be nice if you moved the ball down, but when you coach and you take the scores, I mean, turnovers are part of the game, and you got to take advantage of them when you get them.
Knight checks out after picking up a long 7. Stefanko checks back in for the Crabbers. Now this time Alexander comes to the bottom of the screen.
And they bring 2 defensive men over to guard him or to play against him. And, of course, that kind of...
The defense was ready for the Crabbers that time as Stefanko is stopped for a loss back at the Hampton 43. So he loses about a yard. And the Norview defense, known to be good. They were ranked right up at the top of the district in the eastern region.
Well, they sure have, Tim, and they have played good defense all year long, and that was one of the things that we talked about coming into this ball game, is that both of these teams have good defenses. The Norview team may be a little quicker defensively than what Hampton is, but I tell you, the Hampton's got a strong defense, as they have proven early in this ball game by stopping the Pilots twice.
Ball marked at the 43. They have to get across the 46, and now a delay of the game penalty, which will really hurt the Crabbers here. They had 3rd and about 4, and it makes it now 3rd and 9. So the Crabbers will undoubtedly be in a pass situation.
Well, anytime that you have to send the plays in like that, Mike Smith calls his plays, and he'll send them in with one, and of course then he's got to relay it to quarterback Kroom, and he's got to tell the rest of the people, and they got to get up the line. So if you're just a little bit slower than normal, you end up getting the delay of penalty, and of course this is a passing situation.
3rd down and a little more than 8 yards to go for the first. In motion to the near side is Knight. Kroom fakes. Flag is thrown. The pass is completed for enough for a first down, but we'll have to wait and see who the penalty is going to be called against.
Well, when a flag is thrown by that back man like that, and that's our official, I believe, was in the back. Yeah, I'm sorry, the referee Windley. It normally is going to be a movement of illegal procedure, something against the Crabbers, because it was back there before any of the defense could get there.
Knight may have started upfield before the ball was snapped. That is a possibility, because the flag was thrown very quickly after the ball was snapped. Now that first down is going to be wiped out.
Oh yes, remember last time, the first time he did that, he hit Jeter in the hands and dropped the ball. He sent a man in motion. That time he sent a man in motion and hit the opposite tight end. So that's evidently is a play that you can get the tight end open. When they put 2 men on the wide receiver like they're doing, you can't double cover anybody else. Well, Hampton's got 3 wide receivers.
They got a lot of players on the field. They've also only got 1 second in order to get this snap off, and they don't. So the Crabbers will have the quarter run out on them as they are faced with a 3rd down and 13, and they'll switch ends of the field. And Bob, while we have an opportunity, why don't you, if you will, let the viewers know about when they can see this game, and also a second game that we're bringing. We're doubling up this week.
Well, we split our forces. We got some good people over there at Darling Stadium. But you can watch this game, the Norview-Hampton game, on Monday and Wednesday on Channel 9 in Hampton, and Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. on the Newport News Cable, channel number 36. Now, the Warwick-Phoebus game, which is being played over at Todd Stadium with Darling Stadium with A.G. Womble and Calvin Mansfield, you'll be able to see that game Tuesday at 9 p.m. and Wednesday at 7 on WHCS in Hampton, and on Monday and Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. on Newport News Cable, channel 36. So we're very fortunate to have 2 crews out and being able to get both of these games, and also to get them in Newport News, Tim.
Of course, the winner of this game advances to Richmond next Saturday afternoon. The Crabbers or the Pilots will play in Richmond at either against Hermitage or John Marshall at the Richmond Stadium. So that next Saturday afternoon, the winner of this game advances.
Oh, that's Henrico instead of Hermitage, I've been told. So that's good to know.
Well, Tom Foster couldn't have possibly gotten that wrong. We know Tom he's been of great value. Here we go, 3rd down and 13. Kroom with a great rush is sacked. Over there for the Pilots, Vernon Simmons, number 56, gets to Kroom before he can unload. And he had way downfield. He had Alexander and Custis all the way down at the 30-yard line when he was sacked. So Kroom is thrown for a substantial loss. And now it's going to be 4th down and 21 for the Crabbers. Houston on the field, standing just across his 10.
And they'll probably end up with pretty good field position on this.
Good Hampton bounce on the kick. And it's going to be allowed to roll and all the way inside the 26-yard line. So a big punt on the part of Mike Houston, who has absolutely helped this team tremendously.
He has that. He has kicked field goals and punted, but that was an excellent punt because he really, I don't know what the yardage is on that, but he got a real favorable roll. And, of course, Norview not wanting to try to take a chance of picking it up on the bounce like that and have a turnover again like they did the first time that he kicked. But as you can see, the Norview Pilots have a tremendous defense, and they just really shut down Hampton on that particular series.
And if you're having some difficulty with your picture, we apologize for that. You may have seen the message on the screen a moment ago. We are experiencing some radio interference, so we apologize for that, but we're correcting it just as soon as we can. The Norview Pilots start this time the left side again, rather. That's the side that they've had the success on. And that is once again Alan Williams carrying the ball for the Pilots. They started at their 26, and they'll mark it just across the 30. So a pickup of 4 yards for Williams. Williams has had fairly good success so far. This year, he's had 131 carries for 637 yards coming into this game. Just across the 30. Second down and 6 for the Pilots. Artie Johnson, check that. Artie Rogers is the quarterback. Fakes to the first man, wants to keep it on the option, spins inside and gets to the 34. As over there to make the stop was Andre Davis Jr. for the Crabbers.
Well, they stopped him short. He hit on the 33 and then crawled to the 34, but they marked it back. So he's got a third down and about 3. So he's got the work cut out for him. They have been they have not been successful, but one time on a short situation like that, Hampton gets real tough. Now they'll bend, but they won't break.
Third down and about 2.5. Right up the middle, close to the first down, and on second effort, the first down is gotten. Nice play by the Pilots. This is Alan Williams, 27, who simply broke tackles and got more than enough for the first down all the way to the 42.
That was a fine extra effort because he was stopped short of the line of scrimmage, but he just kept moving and digging his feet and fought. That you have to give him the credit on that.
So the Pilots pick up the first down at their 42. Rogers again to Williams. Williams stacked up at the 43. Crabber defense stiffening this time.
That's the play that they have been running, and he's been popping it to the outside. That time he tried to stay inside, Tim, and I mean to tell you, the Hampton Crabbers, you get close to those defensive linemen, they're going to grab a hold of you. You're not going to let go of them.
Little Hurley Miles, and I say little only in stature, 5'7", 178-pounder. He's a tough one. You get around him, you've done something. At the 44, second down and about 9. Rogers straight back. One of the few times this game he's won a pass. He's hit just as he gets it away. He completes it for a first down at the 47 of Hampton.
And that was a fine play. He's limping a little bit, Tim, as he's going towards the huddle because he was hit and spun around as he let go of that ball. And he did a good job getting to find an open receiver because he was getting a lot of pressure.
Terry Brickhouse was the man on the receiving end of that pass. Rogers only with 17 completions on the season. But that time he did a fine job. First down, Williams right side this time, as normally Williams has been running to the left side. He tries the right side with not quite the success, but still a substantial gain for the Pilots. 5-yard pickup for Williams.
Well, they're doing a good job moving the ball, and they've got to do something to get on the board here to get a little bit of confidence back, because this first quarter's only got 8 minutes left in it, Tim.
This first half is moving along.
First half, not first quarter.
Second down and 5. This is Williams on his left side, the side he's had the success. He's chased by the Crabbers in the form of Anthony Billups, number 8, with him step for step. Not a first down for the Pilots, but it'll be one of those crucial third down situations again.
And they're in a situation now, Tim, if they don't make it, they may go ahead and say we're in 4-down territory because they're inside the 40-yard line. So that it wouldn't be too much if you had to turn the ball over here. It wouldn't be as bad as if you were on the other side of the 50. So they may be in a situation where if they don't make it here, they'll go for it on 4th.
Third down and a yard. Rogers, and immediately hit in the backfield is Mark Hill, and he was met just as soon as the ball was handed to him. So apparently the Crabbers stopped it, but we have a flag down.
Number 70 for the Crabbers,
Sherwood Jones.
He was in the backfield just about the time the ball got there.
And it appears that they're going to mark a penalty off against the Pilots. The official going over to the far sidelines to talk to Ken Whitley and explain to him what the penalty, illegal procedure against the Pilots.
Well, that brings up a 3rd and long, and it's looking for a possible passing situation here. Of course, if they have luck going along the left side and going wide, they may try to do that, knowing that they may have 2 chances of getting the first down, Tim.
So 3rd and almost 7 now. This is Williams. He ducks away from one tackler. He's getting to the outside. He's got the first down. He puts his shoulder down and gets the Norview first down.
And that was a beautiful second effort because he was hitting the backfield, but he did a good job of spinning and just spinning right out of the grasp of the Hampton tackler.
So Williams, with over 600 yards on the season, is doing a real fine job of moving that football. His second efforts and his obvious speed to get to the outside. The Crabbers are going to have to make an adjustment at halftime here. They're giving up too much yardage on that left side.
Oh, they really are, and that is something that the Crabbers will do. They will make some adjustments during the halftime. They have all year long, but what they want to do right now is make sure that this team doesn't score.
1st and 10 at the 30. And sacked is Rogers in the grasp over there for the Crabbers. Number 75 for the Crabbers, James Wilson, along with Hurley Miles. And the Crabbers register the sack on Rogers.
And they weren't fooled at all. Here this team has been running for the most part. I think he's thrown 1 pass, and that was a first down situation, and you would expect him to run the ball because that's what they've been doing all night long. And he dropped back to pass, and Hampton wasn't fooled at all.
So 2nd down and 16 after the 6-yard loss. Give Wilson credit for the sack. Inside of 6 minutes to go in the first half. Immediately hit in the backfield over there for the Crabbers. Number 60, Weymouth Williams, simply wrapped up the ball carrier, Williams, before he had a chance to even think about cutting outside.
Well, I don't know what happened, whether they pulled a guard or something, but he came in that backfield real quick. But they were in a power eye situation. They had 3 running backs behind the quarterback in an power eye formation where he would have 2 strong blockers in front of him. But Weymouth come firing through there and right through everybody to make a super defensive play.
So the loss is back to the 39-yard line. 3rd down and about 19. Left-handed passer throws it, has his man, completes the pass to Williams. He's driven out of bounds short of the first down. But certainly in this position on the field, you don't have to worry about the fact they're not going to go for it, because they are.
That's for sure. Now, this young man is not known as a passer, Tim. He has passed twice and completed them twice, and both were very crucial situations. But he's got a yard to go here, so it really puts the pressure on the Hampton Crabbers. They've done tremendous defense, but that guy was wide open. He rolled to the left, and he was wide open. There was nobody around the pass receiver.
So the Crabbers defense wants to take a chance to talk about this. They've been on the field a lot here in the second quarter. This is something you don't see Hampton have to do very often.
Sure. They do a good job of stopping the other team and getting the offense back on the field. But this Norview team is probably right now has more offensive total yards than what the Crabbers do because of their moving the ball down the field. Now, Hampton moved the ball fairly decent, but then they got the touchdown off of a break when the turnover on the 4-yard line, Tim.
Of course, I'm sure at halftime we'll have Ken Felix here at Todd Stadium giving us some stats. By the way, our congratulations to the crew here at Todd Stadium. They have done a superb job of getting this field ready. The field just couldn't be in any better shape than it is. I was out on the field before the game. The grass, of course, is long dead. There's very few green spots, but the field is in perfect condition, and they've done a really nice job of setting it up.
Oh, they really have, and the stadium crew up here at Todd Stadium always do an excellent job in helping us set up too. So I know we want to take our hats off to them and
get some names to give some credit to here at halftime.
We need some, I tell you.
There you see your score, 6-0. The Crabbers, 5:12 to go here in the first half. 4th down and 1 at the Hampton 22-yard line. A big 4th down play as Norview is going for the first. On the quarterback keeper, he's got it. Rogers has got it, and then some. All the way inside the Hampton 15 to the 14. So stopping Rogers, Weymouth Williams, but not before Rogers on the quarterback keeper picks up 7 yards, and it's a 1st down at the 14 of Hampton.
Well, I tell you what, the coaching staff over there, Norview Pilot, saw something that whatever defense the Hampton Crabbers was in, because he just followed the center over the left-hand side, and he had the first down on his first step and then picked up about 7 yards. So that was a good job.
1st down at the Hampton 14. 4:45 to go in the first half. Hampton leading 6-0. On the option, Rogers stopped before he has an opportunity to turn it inside. In there on the stop was Andre Davis Jr. for the Crabbers, number 32. Davis big, 212, 6-foot junior. I know that Mike Smith is happy to see him only a junior.
Yeah, he's got some fine juniors on this team that'll be coming back next year. And there was no pickup on that play, but Tim, Hampton has not faced a left-handed quarterback, and this young man rolls to the left to throw the ball, and that might put a little bit of pressure in a little different situation that defensive backs aren't used to.
This is Hill. Hill stacked up after a short gain. So Norview has simply controlled the ball here in the second quarter, have yet to score, however, but nonetheless they are in Hampton territory in a threatening situation all the way down. They're going to mark the ball at the Hampton 12. So it's 3rd down and 8, and there have been so many crucial third downs here in the first half. It's hard to believe.
They really have, and I mean 3rd down and long, and this young man has pulled it out.
Rogers straight back to pass, gets pressure, gets dumped as he gets it away. The pass completed inside the 10, short of the first down. The pass completed to Orlando Hawkins, who doubles as the punter. But it's going to be 4th down at the Hampton 9. They need to get to the Hampton 4, so it's not a short yardage situation. I don't see a kicker coming on.
I was looking for the field goal kicker to come in to see if they would attempt to go for the field goal, but it looks like they're opting for that and they're going to try to get the first down, Tim. They have to go down to about the 4-yard line to get the first down, so this is a very crucial play.
4th and 5 at the Hampton 9. Rogers gives to Williams. He's stopped for no gain. Over there again, and I've called his name so many times tonight, I should know it by heart. Weymouth Williams, number 60, was waiting for the other Williams from Norview and simply did not allow him to get going. Stops him cold in his tracks at the 8, and the Hampton defense bends, but they don't break.
But you just took the words right out of my mouth, Tim. That was my big comment.
I'm sorry, Bob.
That's okay.
You're watching Miss Sandy's Bedtime Stories on Channel 29 again.
Oh, you know how it goes.
So the Crabbers are able to stop Norview. Now they'll try and get a drive of their own going. We're inside of 2.5 minutes to go in the first half. Hampton leading 6-0. The score for the Crabbers came after a turnover. The Crabbers had been stopped and had to punt. The ball was fielded at the 5 by the Norview Pilots, fumbled there and recovered by the Crabbers. 2 plays later, we saw Marvin Dickerson score, and the extra point try by Mike Houston was no good, and the Crabbers lead 6-0, just a little more than 2 minutes to go in the first half. Hampton 9-2. Their only losses to Lafayette and Kickotan. Left side, Marvin Dickerson. Nothing happening for the Crabber fullback, and we have a flag downfield, and we may have some unsportsmanlike activity. One of the Crabbers is clapping and applauding the play. We'll have to see what happened.
I don't know. And it looked like after the play, Tim, so it'd be a dead ball foul, and of course, in this situation, they'd go back to the line of scrimmage, I would imagine, and do the 15 from there, or maybe from where they blew the ball dead. Of course, the Crabbers are going to take that. And that is, that's a silly, silly foul. You don't want that to happen because you got Hampton in a 3rd and a long situation, and their back is to their goal line, and now you're giving them a first down and an opportunity to move the ball a little bit and at least run the first half out.
And if you think I'm going to suggest that Mike Smith won't throw the ball, you're crazy, because we have been through this before.
I don't put anything back. I tell you, he's got some real fine wide receivers, got some good speed, and he'll put that ball up and down deep and long for these young men.
Minute 45 remaining. First down for the Crabbers at the 25. On the draw, this is Stefanko. Stefanko across the 32, about the 33.
I tell you what, if that young man hadn't got him, he'd have picked up another 5-10 yards because he really had a head of steam going. And there was another 5 yards before he ever run into another defensive ball player.
Stefanko gets 7. 2nd down and 3. Clock moving inside a minute 20. Crabbers have it at their 33. This is Dickerson. Dickerson gets the first down across the 40 to the 42.
Boy, he just barreled over that right side. He hit about 2-3 people, hit him right in line of scrimmage. He just went right on through him, Tim.
And we're going to, I believe, yes, we are. We're going to see a timeout being called by the Crabbers, which gives me an opportunity to remind you that you can watch Hampton highlights at 4, 7, or 11 p.m. A program of education and information on Channel 29 daily, right here on Channel 29. Don't forget also to watch A.G. Womble and the Sports Report Tuesdays through Fridays at 3, 6, and 8 p.m.
And
exclusively on 29.
Excuse me, and they'll also be able to hear AG doing the color at the Phoebus Warwick game, which will be shown on both the Hampton and the Newport News cable. So that's a little. He's gone out of his
branching out.
Branching out, yeah. He told me he was second team, but I know AG does a good job.
Well, the Crabbers are doing a good job right now. They've got 1 minute exactly remaining in the first half. The Crabbers are leading 6-0. You know, incidentally, I was checking all the media this week to find out the ideas and thoughts on this game. The Hampton, the Daily Press writers picked Hampton across the board to win. The Norview, or the Virginian Pilot writers picked Norview to win. So you have to wonder how much the heart has to do with this. And the score they picked in the Virginian Pilot today was 7-0 Norview. So obviously that one goes by the boards. But there's a long ways to go in this game. 1 minute to go in the half. Hampton leading by only 6 points, and now a delay of game penalty, I believe, will be called against the Crabbers. So that's one of those illegal procedure.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that drives the coach crazy and gray at the same time, because you had a timeout, you've had plenty of time to organize yourself, and then you make a mental mistake.
Well, I don't think we have watched the Hampton Crabbers this year run a man in motion like they're doing tonight, and that may be just throwing the cadence off a little bit, or the offensive linemen, of course, once they put their hand down in the three-point stance, they can't move. If they do, that's illegal procedure, and some of those things, the timing will hopefully will improve as the game goes along.
Again, Knight goes in motion. This is Dickerson up the middle. He gets close to the 40. And for all intents and purposes, it would appear that the Crabbers will be just simply trying to run the clock out. But you're absolutely right. I hadn't thought about that. Very astute on your part, that the Crabbers have not used a man in motion in the games that we've seen them. Of course, we didn't see them in the early part of the season, or at least I didn't. But the man in motion tonight is a new wrinkle.
And I'm sure they're doing that is to try to confuse the blocking and the coverage assignments of the Norview Pilots. And both times that he's passed the tight end out of that, the tight end has been open.
On the halfback draw, Stefanko across the 42, close to the 43. And now we see a timeout being called quickly. And oddly enough, it's being called by the Crabbers, and I'm kind of a little surprised because they have obviously elected to simply kind of run the clock out. They're not doing anything extremely
well, see,
gamble-wise, but now they're calling a timeout after a running play.
But on a draw play, Tim, they're looking for you to pass the ball, and hopefully with the draw play, you can get the young man, you can spring him loose, pick up some yardage that would be hard to do on any other kind of a running situation. And of course, the Crabbers, it's third down. You know, Mike's going to put the ball up. There's no doubt in my mind.
There you see the story. 12 seconds.
And of course, when I say he's going to put the ball up, Tim, guess what? But we'll see what happens.
Do most anything. Liable to put a jersey on and run a play himself.
I don't know.
Well, I've got this opportunity. Let me just run down real quickly how the teams got where they are. Hampton, of course, 9-2. Their only losses were to Kecoughtan and Lafayette. Lafayette beat them 14-0 and Kecoughtan 16-5, a game we had the pleasure of doing. And then, of course, Hampton has come on now to win 3 in a row, beating Warwick 3-0, Bethel 10-0, and then Green Run 17-8. The Norview Pilots lost their first game and their 7th game of the season. They lost to Denby 17-6 and to Morey 3-0.
You got a 3-man wide out on the left-hand side here. So, you know, all intents purposes, it looks like he's going to put the ball up deep.
If Kroom has time, and he does momentarily, get some pressure now. The whistle blows. They say he was in the grasp. The Hampton crowd doesn't like it.
Well, I can understand him not liking it because this isn't the NFL. The man has got to be down. He wasn't down. He was just, all he had was a jersey. That was a real quick whistle on the officials' part, and it was really a bad call. But the quarters or the half is over, Tim.
All right, so as quickly as they blow the whistle, stopping the play and calling it a in the grasp call, they restart the clock in the 3 seconds that had remained. have been wiped off the clock. So we've seen an interesting first half. Your comments, Bob?
Well, it's been basically like what I thought it would be, that it was basically a defensive struggle, although Norview has moved the ball a whole lot better than I thought they would. They're not noted as a passing team, but the 2 times that he did pass, he completed it, and they were situations where the like a third down situation and long where he really had to do that. So it's basically what I thought it would be. Hampton, I thought, would move the ball a little bit better than they are, and they've made a couple mistakes with the 5-yard penalty because of illegal procedure and the delay of game and those sort of things would hurt them. But the Hampton defense has just, again, risen to the occasion because Norview was down there knocking on the door and came away empty-handed, Tim.
Okay, our score at halftime. The Crabbers of Hampton 6, the Pilots of Norview nothing. We'll return with second half action and halftime statistics. But first, this brief timeout. Tim Cole with Bob Hintz back at Todd Stadium at halftime. The score, the Hampton Crabbers 6, the Norview Pilots nothing. There you see it. Third quarter just getting set to start. The Crabbers will have the ball to start the second half. To run down the stats for you, compliments of Ken Felix here at Todd Stadium. He's really done a nice job for us, Bob.
He really has, Tim. We really appreciate these statistics.
Each team has 5 first downs unofficially. There you see the Crabbers. The Crabbers 1 out of 3 passing, no interceptions. Norview 3 for 3. So Rogers, not known for his passing ability, has completed all 3 of his passes. Crabbers have only 16 yards passing, and Norview with 28. On the rushing side of the ledger, Hampton with 19 carries for 44 yards. Norview 21 carries for 73 yards. Total yards, Hampton 60, Norview 101. On the punting, Mike Houston has averaged 40 yards on 2 punts. Hawkins averaging 30.5 on 2 punts for Norview. No return yardage for either team. 3 penalties for the Crabbers for 15 yards, 2 for 20 yards for Norview. Hampton did not fumble the ball in the first half. Norview twice and lost 1, and that 1 led to the Hampton score. As you may recall, in the first quarter, Hampton was the recipient of a fumble at the 4-yard line of Norview, and on 2 plays, Marvin Dickerson carried it in from 2 yards out. Houston's extra point try was no good, and that's how the scoring stands at this point. 1 turnover, and that's the one that's counted. Third down conversions, the Crabbers have converted 1 of 3, Norview 2 out of 6. The time of possession extremely equal, 11:40 for the Crabbers, 12:20 for the Norview Pilots. And Alan Williams, number 27, had a big first half for the Pilots, 59 yards on 12 carries.
And he's a young man that got outside so many times on that, going around that left-hand side for the Pilots. And I'm sure that Hampton coaching staff has done some adjustments in there. But the statistic that jumps out at me quicker than any of those others that you read, Tim, was the 3 for 3 passing by Rogers, who is not noted as a good passer. But a couple of those passes, when he rolled to the left, his receiver was wide open. Maybe just a breakdown in coverage for the Crabbers, I'm not sure. But I know both of these teams went at halftime and hoping to make some adjustments to get the ball and maybe put some points on the board. But Crabbers will get the ball. Of course, they'll be going into what wind we do have tonight. And it is kind of wind is picked up a little bit more than it was starting at the game, Tim. And it is right chilly out there. So, that makes it a little harder to not only throw the ball but also to catch the ball.
The wind will be into the face of the Crabbers. So the kickoff here will have the wind behind it. Norview is set to go. 12 minutes here to go in the third quarter. The kickoff is underway. Taken by Alexander, fumbles the ball at the 15. Now it's picked up and taken out to the 25, 26-yard line by the Crabbers. And Alexander fumbled it, but it was picked up very alertly by Anthony Billups. And Billups gets the ball out to the 26-yard line. The Crabbers will set up 1st and 10.
Well, he came running up real quick to catch that ball because it was a low kick and it was a short kick. And, of course, if it bounces and you can't catch it, it's a live ball. Anybody can fall on it. And he did need to pick it up, but that's kind of scary for the coaches when they see he fumbles it on the kickoff.
Rocky Kroom is the quarterback. Dickerson in the backfield along with Stefanko. This is Stefanko for a yard or 2. Mike Stefanko in the top 10 in rushing throughout the season for the Hampton Crabbers and for the district. he comes out of the ball game now as the play comes in and is carried in by Calvin Knight. So Calvin Knight will be in the backfield with Dickerson. Alexander lines up on the right side, just at the top of the screen. And an official's momentary timeout here.
I think what's happening is the kicking tee still is on the field, and they're supposed to have somebody run out and take their kicking tee off, and that was a smart move because you could run it down and step on that and could twist an ankle or break a leg or something that would be very detrimental. So that was a real smart move on the official's part.
Kroom, plenty of time, has his man open, and Dickerson just couldn't get a handle on it. He was wide open on the near side, but just simply couldn't hold on to the football.
And he had plenty of time to throw that ball, and he was, Tim. I don't think there was a guy within 8 yards of him. And, of course, that would have been a first down and a real big play. That means he's 1 of 4 now, and that's very unusual for Rocky. We saw him when they played Bethel, that he just had an excellent game passing the ball. Of course, it wasn't as cold as it is now, too, but I don't want to make any excuses for him.
So the Crabbers now facing a 3rd down and a long 7 for the first down. Leading 6-0. Kroom wants to pass. Completes the pass to Jeter, but Jeter steps out of bounds before he gets the first down. So he goes out of bounds at the 34, and he needed to get across the 35. So it'll be a 4th down, and we'll see the kicking team come on for the Crabbers.
And that was, of course, that's what the Norview pilots wanted to do. They wanted to stop Hampton on that first drive, make them punt, so that'll give them excellent field position. And, of course, they moved the ball excellently. The first half, they had 40 more total yards than what the Crabbers had.
Houston's kick is underway. It's going to go out of bounds. No run back. We'll see where they line it up. It appears they're going to mark it immediately in the center of the field. So Norview, who had more yardage total offense in the first half than the Crabbers, have great field position at midfield.
Well, that's twice now that Houston has been back in punt formation, and it's been a very high snap. And very fortunate that he did catch the ball. And, of course, when you catch the ball like that, you have a tendency to hurry yourself, and that's probably why he got off such a bad kick.
So the Crabber defense that was on the field a great deal of the second quarter is back on the field again. The left-handed Rogers gets it away. It's incomplete. Intended for Williams. Alan Williams out on the pattern, and Rogers definitely paid the price for holding on to the ball that long. James Wilson, number 75, over for the Crabbers to put the hit on Artie Rogers.
Well, that was very unusual, too. If you remember, Tim, he is left-handed. He rolled to his right that time, so he had to turn his shoulders to get anything on the ball at all, and he did a good job because the ball hit the young man in the hand, but it was a little bit low and it's hard to handle.
2nd and 10. Pitch back, right side. This is Williams. Williams gets across the 50 to the 48. Pickup of a couple.
I can see some adjustments out there already. They're not going to allow them to get outside. They're going to make them turn the ball inside where they got better chance of tackling them. So now we got a 3rd and a real long situation.
3rd down and 8 for Norview. Hampton leading 6-0. Their points coming 2 plays after the Norview fumble. That's the only score in the ball game. It's been a defensive struggle. Art Rogers gets it away. It's intercepted by Mike Alexander for the Crabbers. Alexander back to the 49 of Hampton, and the Crabbers to get the turnover.
I tell you what, that is such a tremendous defense out there. I'm just in awe every time I see Hampton play this. Since we've got into playoffs, that their defense just comes up with big plays, Tim, and of course they put pressure on the quarterback. But what a fine job on an interception.
Mike Alexander, of course, had an interception last week against Green Run. Grizzard threw 2 of them, 1 to Jeter and 1 to Alexander last week. So the Crabber defense comes up with their 2nd turnover. And on the quarterback keeper, Kroom across midfield to the 49. He's dragged back, but he'll get forward progress into Norview territory.
And he's trying to take advantage of that situation. Sometimes the Norview will come up in an odd man front with somebody directly over the center, and the next time they come up with an even man, which is like they have a four-man line, and they'll have nobody directly over the center, but then they have the three linebackers. So it's interesting to see what happens as the fans can see they're in a four-man front now.
2nd down and 7. Calvin Knight gets the pitch back, and he's going to be thrown for a loss as the swarming Norview defense never really let him get started. And in on the stop very quickly, Vernon Simmons for Norview, number 56. And he was right there as Knight tried to turn it inside, but with no success. And we see a 3-yard loss. So it goes back to the original line of scrimmage. It's 3rd down and 10 for the Crabbers.
And this is a passing situation, and I know the coaching staff hopes that Kroom gets his arm going where he can get the ball to the Crabbers and they can catch the ball. The receivers can catch the ball. If he'd have cut that ball in that time a little sooner, he would have picked up yardage. He stayed too wide and went right into the defense.
3rd and 10 for Hampton. Kroom fakes the handoff, has time, has a man open, incomplete. The intended receiver, Will Jeter, down at the Norview 36-yard line, was not able to hold on to it. And it's 4th down for the Crabbers.
That ball was thrown a little bit behind him. He had to turn around and try to catch that ball, but that was a catchable ball.
That's probably the toughest catch in the game.
It really is. But and when they catch it, they'll say that's a fantastic catch and just good concentration. And when you don't, you kind of feel sorry for the young man.
Houston gets the kick away into the wind, takes a Hampton bounce inside the 25, and it's going to be touched dead at the 25-yard line. So this time, Norview will start from their 25. Houston did a good job that time, considering he had a stiff wind in his face.
Yeah, that wind is blowing. Tim, when we got a chance, let me tell the viewers when they can watch this game. Of course, you are watching it right now, but the Norview-Hampton game is going to be played on Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. on 29, and then you can pick it up Tuesday, 2:30 in the afternoon at the Newport News Cable, Channel 36.
Artie Rogers brings them out at the Norview 25. Norview trailing 6-0. Fakes the handoff to Williams, turns it up inside himself, across the 30 to about the 31. Rogers not afraid to run the ball himself.
In fact, he was a running back at the beginning of the season when they lost the first game to Denby. The other game that's being broadcast tonight is the Phoebus Warwick game, and you'll be able to see that Tuesday at 9 p.m. and 7 to 7 p.m. on Channel 29 in Hampton, and again 2:30 on Monday and Wednesday afternoons on Newport News Cable 36.
Appeared to be movement by Norview premature to the snap, but no flags are forthcoming.
I see no flags at all, Tim.
So the officials did not detect illegal motion, and it brings up yet another 3rd down. So there'll be 3rd down and 2. As the Crabbers, of course, would like nothing better than to be able to stall the Pilots at this point and make them kick away and hopefully give Hampton some field position. But that's still a long ways down the road. 3rd down and 2. And Williams in the backfield, along with Mark Hill, number 44. Rogers fakes to Williams, is being run, and he's going to be tackled for a loss.
That Hampton defense comes up every time with a big play, and that was a super play because it took him way back beyond the original line of scrimmage, Tim.
James Wilson gets another sack, so I have him down unofficially with 2 sacks tonight, and both of them coming obviously in key situations.
And you know, that's not bad considering that he's probably only gone back to pass maybe a half a dozen or 7 times tonight.
So Hawkins will be standing at his 10-yard line, and the Crabbers anxious to get a shot at some good field position. The kick is away. Stefanko feels it at the 42, looking to get outside, gets one block, gets away from one tackler, and is tripped up as he gets to the 49. So the Crabbers will have good field position. It's been a defensive struggle from the beginning. There's no reason they should change now.
No, it shouldn't be, and that's what we kind of expected tonight was the defensive struggle, and whoever turns the ball over is the one that's going to be hurt. And of course, Norview has turned the ball over twice. One of them really hurt them. The second one, they escaped the bullet. They turned it over at about midfield, but now the Crabbers have excellent field position, Tim.
Almost at exactly the same spot that they started last time. 5:43, the clock moving. 3rd quarter, Hampton 6-0. This is Stefanko. Stefanko across the 50 to the 48 of Norview. Hampton electing to grind it out right now.
They really have, Tim, and you notice they're using Stefanko a whole lot more in this game than we have seen him before. They seem to be running, usually run the tailbacks in sometimes with the plays, but tonight he's getting a lot of action. He just did come out that time, and it was Calvin Knight is in, I believe, for him.
Second down and 7. Inside handoff. Marvin Dickerson breaks through for the first down across the 40 down to the 39 of Norview. So a real good crossbuck play that time.
Yeah, well, it was a trap play. He faked the pitch one way and give the chance for time for the guard to pull and trap on the opposite side. And boy, Dickerson hit that hole right behind his blocker, and that was a well-executed play. This is what Mike Smith had talked about in the paper. It's between these two teams, who wins is going to be the one who executes, and Mike Smith and his coaching staff do a real good job of staying to the fundamentals, and these young men doing a good job. Look like we got a big walk-off here, Tim.
Yes, we do. We have a penalty called against Norview after the play, a face mask call against Norview. So an illegal face mask call against Norview gives the Hampton Crabbers a first down at the Norview 24.
Well, right now, Norview is hurting themselves. That's the second big penalty they had. One was towards the end of the first half, was a big 15-yarder.
Inside handoff again. Fumble, but not in time as the whistle had blown the ball dead. Marvin Dickerson carried again, and they'll mark it at the Norview 23. So Dickerson picks up 2 yards. Second down and 8 for the Crabbers.
Well, I look right here for a passing situation. They have not been real successful in moving the ball on the ground except for that trap play. And, of course, the Hampton has been known to put the ball up in the air because Kroom is a good passer.
This is Calvin Knight across the 20 to the 18.
And again, I'm wrong.
Well, you know, it was obviously a choice that he could have made. But, you know, as long as you're moving the ball, as long as you pick up 2, 3, 4 yards every time, they're going to keep moving it. That accomplishes many different things, of course. It keeps the Norview defense on the field, keeps your defense resting, and it runs the clock. And now we've had a timeout being called. I'm not sure this is an official's timeout. Something's on the ball,
it looks like. He I don't know what it is. He's wiping the ball off. So, of course, that gives the coaching staff a chance to get somebody in there to call a play, but nobody's in there yet. So
here comes Stefanko.
You'd think he'd have had him in there a lot sooner that time so he wouldn't be called with a delay of penalty game, which did hit him once time this game already.
Ball is inside the Norview 18. Keith Custis, the flanker to the near side. 3:35 to go in the third. Kroom looks to pass. Throws the ball out on the flat for Custis. Custis down close to the 10-yard line, and it'll be another first down for the Crabbers.
Oh, that was a finely executed play. That's just a little short screen out to the flat till you get your flanker takes a couple steps like he's going to run downfield, and then he drops back real quick, and they throw a pass quick. By that time, he's got maybe 1 or 2 blockers out in front of him. It's just a quick screen out there and picked up good yardage, Tim. And, of course, that'll give Kroom a lot of confidence being able to pass that ball that well. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get on you. Here we go with the 1st and 10 from about the 11-yard line.
Again, that trap to Dickerson, but not as successful this time as he gets close to the 10. And again, we remind you that we are having some technical difficulties tonight, some radio interference, and we apologize for that. We are trying to adjust and correct that situation, but please bear with us. We are aware of it. And so if your picture is having some breakup in it, it's due to radio interference, and hopefully we can correct that.
Yeah, it's not your receiver.
As they say.
Okay, Tim, he picked up about 1 on that play, so let's see what happens. But you know he's in range right now. He's in Houston's range for a field goal. So, but I know Mike wants to get a touchdown. That really puts the pressure on the Norview Pilots.
Man in motion is Stefanko. This is Dickerson up the middle. He's going to go in for the touchdown.
Oh, what a fantastic job. Oh, what a beautiful call, Tim. He has run a man in motion 3 times tonight, and all 3 times he's passed. That time he run a little delay with Dickerson right up the middle, and he did a good job of following his blockers and finding that end zone. He was not going to be denied.
Marvin Dickerson scores his second touchdown of the evening. And the Crabbers go out on top 12-0. Mike Houston on the field to try the extra point. Kroom will be holding. Kick is up and is long enough. And Houston makes no mistake this time. So Houston converts, and the Crabbers now lead by the score of 13-0.
Tim, with 2:22 to go in this third quarter, and you only have 12-minute quarters here in high school, you put a lot of pressure on a team that has been a defense-oriented team all year long. They have scored points with their defense. So now you got to score with your offense, and you're going to have to put the ball up. And you noticed the last time that he put the ball, the last two times that the quarterback put the ball up for Norview, once he was intercepted and once he was thrown for a big loss.
You know, Norview, an excellent team, no question about it. That play, by the way, was 7 plays, total of 51 yards. Okay, 51-yard play.
And it took 3 minutes and 32 seconds to make that score.
What I started to say was Norview, of course, handily, in the sense that they were way out in front of Great Bridge before they won 24-22 last week, and a game that was not nearly as close as the score indicates. They did turn the ball over. They had 5 fumbles, they lost 3 of them, and they threw 2 interceptions. So Norview is prone to make the mistakes, and that's the difference between Hampton and Norview at this point in the game, is the mistakes. 2:22 remains in the third quarter. Onside kick attempt is fielded by one of the up men. The ball taken and immediately downed by Norview. It went the 10 yards necessary. So another little twist there for you.
If you remember last year, Tim, we got to see Mike Smith pull that 2 or 3 different times and end up getting the ball once or twice out of that. So that's not a bad play. And he knows his defense is strong and tough, and they have been playing that way all game long. So that's not a bad call.
So the Pilots, Artie Rogers brings them up. A little more than 2 minutes to go. Rogers, not known for his passing, has it almost intercepted. Keith Custis had the ball in his hands with no one between him and the goal line.
That would have been Katie barred the door, because he would have been gone, but he had that play covered the whole time. He knew where that ball was going, and that's probably the pass play that the Norview Pilots have the most success with. I remember talking to Danny Mitchell, and he said he would tell me which plays that they had more success with, and one of those was the rollout to the left with the man breaking into the flat out there, and Hampton did a good job of scouting that, and Custis did a good job picking it up, and almost walked away with 6 points on that one.
Just couldn't quite find the handle, so it falls harmlessly as an incomplete pass. 2nd and 10, clock stops with 2:06 to go in the third quarter. Rogers fakes short, then goes long. It's going to be way out of the reach of the intended receiver, and that is Orlando Hawkins, who does the punting for Norview.
And there was 2 or 3 Crabbers back there defending on the play, so that ball was going to have to be right accurate. I was talking to one of the announcers on WTKR, and he was telling me this young man's got a real strong arm, but he's not real accurate. And of course, we have seen Rocky Kroom throw long passes and hit the young men right in their hands, his receivers, so he's more accurate. So now you're really in a tough situation. You got a 3rd and 10.
Rogers only 17 completions for the season, unless that's a typo. This is Williams. He has some running room. And this is Mike Alexander making the stop, but not before Williams gets all the way to the Hampton 38-yard line. And we have a late flag, and we may have one of the Hampton players guilty of some unsportsmanlike contact. Let's wait and see. If this is a penalty against the Crabbers, this would be a crucial penalty situation, because the ball is already on the Hampton 38, and I think that's what we're going to see.
It looks like that is against the Crabbers, and he's talking to the Norview Pilots. That was a real good play. Tim, that was a sprint-out draw. He sprinted to the left, and the young man got the ball on a draw play and came back against the flow and just did an excellent job of running that ball that time. That was a great call.
I've been very impressed with number 27, Williams of Norview. He's been the most consistent offensive weapon they've had, and now we see the other side of the coin. The Crabbers guilty of a 15-yard infraction. We have a personal foul called against the Crabbers. So Crabbers, who don't make a lot of mistakes, make one this time, and it's a costly one. So the defense being exhorted on the near sideline by the coaches of Hampton, yelling out to the defense, let's dig in, let's play smart football.
And of course, you may play smart football, Tim. You said it right on there. You don't want to make any dumb mistakes out there to give them a chance to score.
At the 22, movement again, no flag, rolling out to his left, being chased. Rogers gets it away, throws it in the end zone. It's almost caught, but it goes incomplete.
There is movement in the backfield on it. I don't know why the officials aren't picking that up, but there is definite movement in the backfield before the ball is snapped. And, Tim, you and I know that's illegal procedure.
Well, obviously the officials aren't seeing it the same way. The Hampton coaching staff, a couple of yards down to our left here, are yelling and screaming as they are passing information back and forth between the sidelines and the upstairs position here. And a couple of times they've yelled out that there's motion, but the officials have chosen not to believe that that's the case. 2nd down and 10. Clock stops with 1:34 to go in the third quarter. Rogers straight back, steps up, throws. It's going to be picked off. Keith Custis gets this one, and Custis dragged down, but not before he gets the ball back for the Crabbers. So Rogers has this one picked off. Keith Custis comes up with his interception. And that's what happens when you get 13 points behind. You've got to do a little different game plan, and when you do, you fall into the hands of the Hampton defense.
Well, the man was open, but he just overthrew the receiver and right into Custis' hand, but that young man seems to be at the right place at the right time, doesn't he, Tim?
Last time he had a chance, he could have scored, but he couldn't hold on to it. This time he gets it, and the Crabbers get the ball back on the turnover. Marvin Dickerson right up the middle, fumble, ball is loose, and it belongs to Norview.
And now we have back-to-back turnovers. That's very uncharacteristic on the Crabbers' part. They don't turn the ball over very often, and of course you don't want to give them ball right back down at their end of the field either, Tim.
Now Dickerson came up with the ball from the pile. He says he had it, but the officials ruled that the last man to have possession before the whistle blew was a Norview pilot. So the exchange gives a little bit of yardage gain to the Crabbers on the turnovers. They've backed up to the 35 of Hampton, and now Norview trailing 13-0 inside of a minute to go in the third quarter. Norview crowd on the far sideline, very vocal. Alan Williams gets the call. Inside the 35 to about the 33.
Well, we have probably one more play to go in this in the third quarter, Tim. Doesn't look like, unless he makes runs a passing play and the clock stops or something of that nature. But the Hampton Crabber defense has really been on the field a long, long time tonight.
Rogers thrown for a loss. Sherwood Jones, number 70, in on the stop for the Crabbers.
And I tell you what, they ought to give this defensive team if they give away game footballs, they ought to give it away to the whole defensive unit because they're just playing an excellent job out there tonight, Tim. We got a halftime, the end of the first quarter here, and while I got a chance, let me explain what will happen here. The winner of this game will play either Henrico or John Marshall in Richmond next weekend, and that will be played at the Richmond Spiders field, and that is AstroTurf, by the way. So I remember one other game that the Crabbers played on AstroTurf, and they wore tennis shoes, and it was kind of cold, and they just slipped and couldn't do their cuts or anything.
They lost that game in Charlottesville a couple of years ago.
And that was in the championship against T.C. Williams, if you remember. Now T.C. Williams has got knocked out of it, so there's no chance that they're going to end up in the finals this year, but I know Mike Smith is very excited about the way the defensive unit is playing out there tonight because they really have put the monkey on the back of Norview. They've got third and long now. Last time in this situation they ran a sprint draw play, so let's see what they do this time. It's either a passing play or maybe some sort of a draw or even a screen play.
Third down and almost 14. Norview has to get to the Hampton 25 for the first down. They trail by the score of 13-0. Ball is marked for play. Artie Rogers, the quarterback. Rolling out, wants to pass, and he's going to be grabbed and taken down once again. James Wilson. James Wilson with his third sack of the evening.
I tell you what, that is just an outstanding job. He rolled to his left, which is the best way for him to roll when he's going to pass the ball. But when you turn and roll to your left and you see that Mr. Wilson in your face, I know he's getting tired. He's going to dream about that guy tonight.
And Wilson is but a sophomore.
Oh, wow.
6'2", 217, and he's fleet of foot, I'll tell you that. Hawkins gets it away. It's a poor kick. It goes off the side of his foot. Takes a roll to the Hampton 41. So Hampton will have, we're talking a net of 8 yards on the kick. The line of scrimmage was the 49, and it rolls to the 41. So the Crabbers recipient, again, the defense sets it up. James Wilson has been phenomenal. He's over on the near sidelines being congratulated by his teammates for his extremely effective play on defense tonight. The Hampton Crabber defense has been superb.
Oh, they have. Now if we get the offense moving here, and I know that's what Coach Smith wants to do.
In motion is Calvin Knight. Fake, and Kroom still has it. Looking downfield, he's got Jeter over the middle. It's picked off, however. Bad pass by Kroom, and they turn it right back over. So it's been a story of turnovers here in the second half.
And he had Calvin Knight over here on the right wide open. He should have hit Jeter when he first started the roll after the fake on the dive, because Jeter was open right then, but then he went across the middle and went right into coverage, and he had Dickerson. No, it wasn't. He was Calvin Knight over here on the right, wide open. Of course, that gives it another chance for the Norview Pilots.
Starting from their 41, 11 minutes, the clock moving, fourth quarter. This is Hill, Mark Hill, and he gets maybe a half yard. Mark Hill for the Norview Pilots has had a pretty good season. Hill comes in with 58 carries for a little less than 400 yards on the season. Sherwood Jones in on the stop. Jones and Wilson have been tremendous this evening for the Crabbers, and Wilson is back out there again. And there's been little rest for the Hampton defense tonight.
It really has. I know they go out there and do a good job, and they stop the team. They have a bad punt. They get good field position, and the Crabbers turn the ball right back over. That's really hard to swallow sometimes.
Rogers, again, wants to pass, throws it low, and they're going to say it was completed as Orlando Hawkins is on the receiving end at the 43 of Norview. A very short gain, only about 2 yards. So, again, a big third down coming up for the Pilots.
And that wind is picking up a little bit, Tim. It's coming in this window on us, and it's getting rather chilly.
And, to their advantage, it's blowing into the face of Norview. So it's certainly to the advantage of the Hampton team to have that wind blowing in their face. 43-yard line is where they've marked the ball. Third down and about 7. And once again, Sherwood Jones with the sack. So between Jones and Wilson, there are unofficially 5 sacks this evening of Artie Rogers.
He was in a stand-up position, a linebacker that time, Tim, and just went shooting through the gap. Nobody touched him, and he was right in the quarterback's face before he even had a chance to look anywhere. Now he's going to have to punt the ball again. Now last time on a punt, the snap was real low, and he had to catch it off of the bounce, and that was probably what made him hurry and have such a poor punt last time.
Gets a good snap this time into the wind, and it almost hit one of the Crabbers. It takes a Hampton roll all the way back to the 49-yard line of Hampton. So the Crabbers will have great field position.
And that's almost at the line of scrimmage. Where the first down marker would have been had they got a first down.
About a 12-yard kick, so the kicking game has really deserted the Norview Pilots here in the third and fourth quarters.
It most certainly have. We got 8:46 to go, Tim, and I know Mike Smith would like to see the offense move the ball, take some time off that clock. You got a 13-point lead. That means they have to score twice, but quit turning the ball over.
Hampton can just simply hold on to the ball here. They can just about do what they want to do here. They can run that clock down.
They most certainly can.
8:46 to go in the fourth quarter. On the quarterback option, flag goes down, as does Kroom, and a loose ball. As of yet, no signal. And now they say it belongs to the Norview Pilots, but there is a flag on the play. A slow whistle. And if this is again a turnover and it stands, the Crabbers will have turned it over 3 times in a row. And from the reaction of one of the Crabbers, it very well is against the Hampton team. That flag was interesting. It came all the way from way downfield. Well, what is the ruling now?
Offensive holding is what he's calling.
Offensive holding decline. The fumble is recovered by the Pilots, so Hampton just can't hold on to the football.
I tell you what, I know the coaching staff is trying to figure out what in the world is happening. We're doing everything we can to keep giving this ball back to the Pilots, but their defense has not quit on them.
It's getting chilly out there, to say the least. It's undoubtedly in the 40s at this point. And a good stiff breeze. Ooh, once again, Rogers gets it away, completes the pass to Alan Williams on the far side of the field, and Williams is driven out of bounds at the Hampton 45. And Artie Rogers has taken several good hits after he's completed or thrown the ball tonight. That time Sherwood Jones met Artie Rogers.
That young man was wide open. He had plenty of room to run after he caught the ball. And, of course, that's a good pickup. It looks like about 6-7 yards on that pickup. The clock stopped, which is in their favor because they went out of bounds, and now they're in Hampton territory.
Well, they've marked the ball at the 44, so it's a pickup of 6. 2nd down and 4 for Norview. Again, it appeared to be some premature motion in the backfield, and we may have seen him get caught that time.
I think the first time that we're going to catch that, but that guy finally caught it. But they've done that 2 or 3 times, and as you said, we have the Hampton coaches. They're in the press box right down from us, and boy, they'll catch it when they move. And I believe we're going to have a 5-yard penalty, which will mean 2nd and 9 rather than 2nd and 4.
And Alan Williams, number 27, the man who has had good success running the ball for Norview, was the man who apparently left a little early before the snap. He started to move forward, which you can't do, of course. And they'll mark it off. Illegal motion. So that backs them up. And again, Norview did not need anything to slow them down. They, as you said, they have to score twice.
But the clock is stopped again, Tim. There's been a lot of action here. Now he's finally got a clock winding.
At the Hampton 49, Rogers, a short drop back, and he is going to be sacked again. Over there with Wilson is Sherwood Jones and Hurley Miles. Who else? Miles, Wilson, and Jones in the backfield once again. An unofficial 6th sack on Rogers.
And now we were talking 3rd, a 2nd and 4. Now we got 3rd and looks like about 15, Tim. And boy, you know, you got to take your hat off to the Hampton Crabber defense. They're just playing outstanding tonight. But of course, they know that he's got to put the ball in the air, or he's got to throw the ball. So they're either going to look for a pass, they're going to look for the draw play, or perhaps a screen play.
You know, the only thing I question about Rogers is that he's taking a short drop back, and you're not going to do that against the Hampton team knowing you're going to pass. Pitch back, goes to Williams, wants to get outside. He's pushed out to the sideline and then is driven out of bounds at the 47, and it'll bring up a 4th down after a very short gain of maybe a yard and a half.
Right, Tim, you made a real interesting point there. You say he's taking a real short drop back, but if you're reading your statistics, how many times he's passed the ball, they don't work on it much. That is probably what they have worked on, if any, has been a short drop back, because that's not their ball game. Their ball game is running the ball, keeping it on the ground, and grinding it out and scoring and having their defense score.
So Hawkins standing at his 34. The kick is away. It's a good kick. Stefanko will field it at the 26, and he will be taken down immediately. So no return yardage for Stefanko, and the Crabbers will have the ball, and the question is, can they hold on to the football? They have turned it over 3 times in a row here in the second half.
And if they turn it over down here, now you're talking around between the 20 and the 30. That would really hurt the Crabbers. So I know they're going to try to keep that ball on the ground this time and hang on to that football.
Knight and Dickerson in the backfield. To the near side comes Alexander. Far side is Crutchfield. And this is Calvin Knight, and Knight gets out to the 29. He's taken down there after a fairly short game.
It looked like he was going to pick up more yardage than he did. In fact, had he cut it back to the middle, he may have picked up a little more yardage because he'd be going against the grain. But he elected to go outside and only picked up a couple yards.
Richard Grievous on the stop for Norview. It looked like he did have some running room for a moment there, and a good defensive play by Norview prevented a large pickup. But now we're talking the clock here, 6 minutes and counting. Mike Stefanko across the 30 to the 33. They'll mark it actually at the 32-yard line, and it'll bring up a third down for the Crabbers.
I have been watching officials all night tonight spotting the ball when he gets tackled, and they are really dropping back about a yard and a half. And I don't, I think they're just being a little premature on their marks, but
as long as they're consistent, that's what the coach looks for. If they do it every time, that's one thing.
And they've been doing it every time. They've been consistent about it. They really have.
At the 32, third down and 4, and we've got movement, and if Hampton didn't draw them off, it'll be a first down for the Crabbers.
There was about 3 flags. Of course, a couple come in real late, so I don't know if they did that just to say, oh, I saw it too. But it's definitely raining flags out there, Tim.
It's offsides against Norview, so the Hampton Crabbers, I don't know that they intentionally tried to draw Norview off, but they're going to get a first down out of this.
Tim, I would say yes, they intentionally did. That is one thing that Mike Smith works on. It's just a change of cadence to draw the defense off, and your offense have really got to be aware of it so they don't get drawn off. And they're very disciplined, and that's one of the things, and that's one of your fundamentals that you work on in practice.
So 4 fresh downs on the draw play. Stefanko cuts it to the outside, gets to the 43. Stefanko picks up a good 5 yards on the play, and more importantly, keeps possession, and the clock continues to move. We're inside of 5 minutes.
And what you said, Tim, was very important. Not only did he keep possession, because I've never seen a string of turnovers that the Hampton Crabbers had there 3 in a row. They had 3 possessions and turned the ball over 3 times. That's very, very uncharacteristic.
They mark it at the 44. Dickerson on the inside handoff gets the first down out at midfield.
That's that trap play that they've had success with. A couple other times they've run that play tonight and been very successful with it.
I don't want to say this prematurely. Maybe I shouldn't.
Okay.
But I will. It's my prerogative.
Okay.
4:24 to go. First down again at midfield, and it looks to me like the Hampton Crabbers have got this thing looking pretty good their way right now.
Would you pull it down, Meredith, sing the lights are out or whatever that is?
I would light my cigar if my name was Red Auerbach. How's that? And a new number in the backfield for the Crabbers carrying the football is Hurley Miles, number 33. We haven't seen him carry the ball much, but he is listed as a defensive guard and a fullback. So Hurley Miles checks in for one offensive play. Stefanko will bring a play in, and Calvin Knight will come out, so Miles will stay in. So your backfield is Miles and Stefanko. There you see the story, 3:41, and the clock is moving. Hampton has recorded 7 shutouts this season, and they're looking for number 8. Kroom does want to pass, throws it down. It's going to be over everyone's head. Mike Alexander was the intended receiver downfield, but that ball was not going to be caught by anyone.
No, and it was out of bounds had they caught it. But that is something that we have seen this year that Mike Smith will do. You and I will say, well, it's 3 minutes and less than 4 minutes to go in the game, and you keep the ball on the ground, you keep the clock running. But Mike is the kind of guy that he didn't come to this ball game just to run the clock out. He came to win and win right, and he puts the ball up. The short man that time, Jeter, appeared to be open, but Rocky decided to go long with Knight.
Stopping the clock with 3:27. Kroom fakes the handoff and again wants to pass. Throws it down behind Custis and over the head of Alexander. And Alexander is not getting up. He is slow to get up off the ground, and that would be a crucial loss to the Crabbers.
I can't understand that hit. The ball was well over, and the ball was down, and then the man hit the young man. That's a cheap shot. There's no call for that in football. You hurt somebody bad and you knock them out of the ball game. That's not the way you play. I don't know if the coaches I know the coaches don't teach that.
Well,
That's
hopefully all he had was the wind knocked out of him.
I hope so
They're
too. But you notice that's one of the things that they're really getting tough on in the
NFL.
NFL. I want to talk NBA here. NFL. That this cheap shot, that the ball is not catchable and it's over the guy's head. Why hit him and put him out of the game and probably end a career? That's really it's really a silly thing to do.
The Crabbers have a timeout called. 3:21 remains in the ball game, and the Crabbers leading by the score of 13-0. If you've just joined us, I'll recap very quickly for you. Scoring in the first half was a 2-yard touchdown by Marvin Dickerson, and the extra point try was no good. The story of that drive, of course, was the fumble. On the punt, it was fielded at the 5 and fumbled by Norview. Hampton recovered at the 4. They took 2 plays to score. Dickerson carried over from 2 yards out, and the Crabbers led at halftime 6-0. Mike Houston's extra point try was no good. And then in the third quarter, with 2:22 to go, Dickerson scored his second touchdown. This one a 10-yard drive up the middle. The extra point try by Houston this time was good, and that's the way we stand right now, 13-0 in favor of the Hampton Crabbers. And it appears that Hampton will move on to play either Henrico or John Marshall next Saturday in Richmond.
And Tim, the announcing, of course, the people will know what has happened, but Warwick evidently has beat Phoebus, and they will play Patrick Henry here at Todd Stadium 1:30 next Saturday. So that's interest to the fans to come out and watch that ball game.
Those of you, of course, that are watching this on Channel 36 in Newport News, we urge you and encourage you to come out and support the Warwick Raiders as they continue their quest for the Division II championship of AAA. Houston will throw the ball to Jeter. He's got it completed at the 35, and he's taken down at the 29, and it is first down for the Crabbers. On a 4th and 9, Houston throws the pass to Jeter.
That's one I have not seen tonight. I haven't seen this year, and I didn't know that young man could pass the ball. But I tell you, he kicks field goals, he punts, he throws. He's 1 for 1, Tim.
He's 1 for 1, and it was a big one at the 29 of Norview. So the Crabbers keep the ball alive. They had a 4th down and 9 and fake the punt. Rocky Kroom hands off Stefanko, has some running room. He's across the 25 to the 23. So the Crabbers now looking for another score, but just as importantly, they want to keep that ball in their possession and wind that clock down.
And this almost improbable, I should say, that Norview would even be able to get a chance to score 1 time, let alone twice. They do have to score 2 times with a 13-0 lead, but the Crabbers are going to hang on to that ball, Tim.
In 11 games, the Crabbers have shut out 7 of their opponents, looking for shutout number 8. Little or no gain on this play. Actually a loss at the 21. Check that, a pickup of 2 from the 23 to the 21.
And that was Johnson running the ball that time, and that's one of the third tailbacks he used. He used Stefanko, Johnson, and Calvin Knight back there in that tailback position.
And Wesley Johnson checks out of the ball game. And now in the backfield is Dickerson and Stefanko for the Crabbers. Custis lines up wide to the right. On the draw, Stefanko weaving and bobbing down to the 19, and he's going to be real close to a Hampton first down.
Depends on where they spot that, but that is one play. The last 2 games we've watched Hampton play, that draw play to Stefanko has been an excellent call for them. They've picked up yardage on it just about every time they've played it or run that play.
1:20, the clock moving. The Hampton Crabbers advancing to the regional finals, the quarterfinals of the state, I should say. Kroom over the center looks and sees something he's not sure of, and he calls a timeout.
No, that's not what he did, Tim. If you remember, he goes
out. It was 4th and 1. He was trying to pull him off. I thought he might just go for it anyway. I figured, what the heck.
But that is a call that they do, and of course we saw Norview in the first quarter try to pull Hampton off, and it didn't work. And of course that time it didn't work for the Hampton Crabbers, but there's no doubt in my mind they're going to go for it. You got a minute and 4 to go. If you don't make it, the best they're going to get the ball is on their own 20. So the only other thing he might do is consider kicking a field goal. The wind is at Houston's back. So, of course, if he goes back, we don't know. He might not pass that ball.
Go ahead, Scotty. There you go. Show the people at home who's doing all this fine camera work.
Absolutely.
Angela Brown, Richard Hunt, Jerome Young doing a great job. Graphics, there you go. I'm not even trying to pronounce the second name. Scotty Bowers, our director. First down for the Crabbers on the quarterback keeper. So Rocky Kroom keeps the ball, and the Crabbers pick up the first down. The clock stops with 1 minute exactly as they'll reset the chains, and this game is virtually history as the far side of the field, the Norview Pilots, had a great crowd here, and most of them now are on their way back over to the other side.
They sure are, Tim. I can see a lot of cars leaving in the parking lot right now. They know it's over and that the season is over for the Norview Pilots.
Wesley Johnson gets the call for the Crabbers. So the Hampton Crabbers, the defending state champions of the AAA, make one more step. And you know something, I've got to admit, I was of great concern as to whether Hampton would get this far the way they were playing in the middle part of the season, but they have certainly turned it around.
Well, they most certainly have.
Calvin Knight down to the 9-yard line, as Hampton would love to get another score, but it's not of any great importance because we have just seen the last play of this ball game. 10 seconds, the clock moving. Hampton will not even try to huddle. And they'll go over and congratulate the Norview Pilots. The Pilots will advance no further.
And there it is, Tim. That is the end of the game.
So head coach Mike Smith of the Hampton Crabbers records yet another victory in his illustrious career as head coach at Hampton High School. The Hampton Crabbers moved to 10-2. And they shut out their 8th opponent for the season, and you don't really have to say much more than that. That tells the story of how your team plays.
That's right, it sure does. And I know that, like we had talked about earlier tonight, Tim, that people had written Hampton off because they had 3 bad games, lost 2 of them. But Mike Smith and the coaching staff, and we need to take our hats off to the coaching staff and recognize them. We're talking about Danny Mitchell and Alvis Mann and Steve Washington and Coach Brower. They just do a fantastic job with these young men, and they got them their head back together. Of course, they got Custis back, which is their preacher. The kids just seem to respond to a certain individual, and we're looking forward to going up to Richmond next week, Tim, and doing that ball game, and we'll have our full crew back with us. And I've really enjoyed it tonight. The stadium crew did a fantastic job, and of course our camera crew did. We want to apologize for some of the interference that we were getting, but as usual, I have enjoyed working with you.
Absolutely, Bob. And again, the Hampton Crabbers now have won their 4th in a row. After stumbling in the latter part of the season, they have beaten Bethel, Warwick, Green Run, and now the Norview Pilots. So the Hampton Crabbers advance to the game next Saturday afternoon in Richmond against either John Marshall or against Henrico. And another quick reminder, Bob?
Yeah, let's do it real quick and let the fans in Hampton and Newport News both find out where this is being played. You can view this Hampton-Norview game Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Channel 29, WHCS in Hampton, and on Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. on Newport News, school cable station number 36. You also will be able to see the Warwick-Phoebus game, which I've just been told that the Raiders won that thing. I'm sorry, it's 3rd quarter, and it's like 26-0, so it doesn't look good for the Phoebus Phantoms. Of course, nothing is sacred either. But that game will be played on Tuesday at 9 p.m. and Wednesday 7 p.m. on WHCS cable channel 29 in Hampton, and Monday and Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. on Newport News cable 36. Tim, that's just about wraps it up here. I'll let you close it off.
Well, we'll even have a chance to turn around and look at the camera and tell you this is Tim Cole for Bob Hintz. Again, our final score, the Hampton Crabbers 13, the Norview Pilots nothing. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody.